guys, welcome back. This is Everyday Struggle. I am Nadeska. That is Wayno. He is Akademiks. We're back.
Y'all can at least pull y'all cup closer and act like y'all about to drink.
I'm the only person that drinks all of the water on this table.
That's true.
That's true.
We gotta get Axe some new hats, man.
You not
that Miami Heat hat.
Man.
We gotta retire it. We gotta retire the Miami Heat hat.
Nah.
The viewers agree. They've told me about it.
Miami Heat. Hold on. Let me see. What hat do I got coming out next?
No, we need you to get
plan
new
this?
hats.
Stop it.
No, of course I do. And I'm a simple person.
Nah, I'm gonna bring some hats in here for Akademiks.
Usually I rock with my nah.
Stop. There's no way that you plan anything about your outfit.
This thing gonna come with like a fucking, because I like try to, like this guy a little bit yellow. You got a yellow like paper planes hat, nigga, like one of the Rock Nation joints. Steal that from Jay-Z's office, bro.
I got a bunch of those, man. I just need to get you some hats, man. I can't take it no more. I can't take the Miami Heat hat no more. We gotta do something about this.
Good, I like it.
All right.
I know you're in your feelings because Katie just dissed the Knicks, but it's okay.
I don't care. I'm a Laker fan.
Oh yeah, did he not wear a hat?
You know I was a Laker fan since I first got on here, dog.
Yeah, but still, you claiming this Harlem shit, man. You gotta like
claiming. Watch your mouth now.
You gotta feel a little way when.
What are you talking?
Anyways, what up?
Let's just go where we was going. He turned into some other.
Yesterday we had Young M.A on the show. It was my first time meeting her. I thought she was super cool. We do have a fan question.
Look at your Ja Rule shirt. My bad. We ain't even give you compliments
Shout out
on the
to Ja
drip.
Rule. I feel like I
Big
have
drip. Look at
to
you.
rock this one more time before the year was over. Let's never forget.
Right, let's never forget.
Okay.
Now can you let Nadeska get back into what she was doing? Thank you.
I think we had a pretty good episode with Young M.A. I think it was good that she came up here. We do have a fan question. Young M.A. seemed like a very chill person and gave a lot of insight during her interview. Was there something new about her that you learned during the interview? Akademiks? Since you had your separate interview at the end.
No. I learned a lot more about her personality and like maybe just like, I feel like she went through things and she acknowledged that, like, it's rare we get artists that say, hey, when I had success, maybe I wasn't that prepared. You never hear that shit.
Yeah.
Usually they blame it on people around them. People couldn't keep up. The label fucked up.
Right.
Of course, she ain't had no label.
Right.
But it's the first time I seen someone say, you know what, came a little bit fast. And I do think when you admit things like that, that's humbling, and I do think that goes into creating a project like she did, and also coming up here, by the way, I've never seen her as vocal. Maybe she's always been that way, like really chatty. She's like really like,
she's like a real New Yorker. She's like a cool New Yorker.
Mad cool.
Yeah.
But I don't think we got a chance to see all of that.
Yeah.
Why not?
For me, I just learned like her business sense. I didn't know she was that business savvy. And, that she was a big person that was big on accountability. You know what I mean? Like just team delegation. Like I didn't know that she had those
part
things.
of the
Yeah. That was hell yeah. Like just
that's something you never hear rappers say. Like if your friends aren't pulling their weight, it's peace.
Yeah, it's just my niggas. We coming everywhere. Yeah. We don't care if they can't get in. I'm not going in. She like, yo, if you can't, this might not be for you. And I really respect that about her.
Whoever was in the green room with her probably was like, oh shit. She told me. But that type of accountability with your team usually like I remember when I asked her, I was like, yo, like you don't want people to think like you sold out if you left them behind. She's like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I'm really about moving forward. And truth be told, I think you need that type of mentality when you're independent. You can't have dead weight around you. You cannot.
Yeah.
So I'm glad for everything she's doing.
She definitely has a long-term mindset. That's what I learned. And I like that she said she didn't want to go crazy with the features to overshadow herself on her debut album, which makes sense. But now that it's out, sounds like she's really going to be out here. She said she's working on a lot of things. So I'm curious to see what she has coming up.
And I do have to add, because yesterday they were like, yo, you said she did like 22, 23. It really was 26, 27. So salute to her. Yeah. Trust me, for independent artists, that 4,000 units, that's a lot. So
that's a big one. I mean, even for some artists that aren't independent, like it's hard to really put out a debut project and do those type of numbers. I think like 27 today is almost equivalent to 100K people really going out back in the day and buying CDs, like, because she has big records. That's another question I didn't get a chance to ask her was, how does she maintain, like how does she know what's the right record to pick? Because it seems like every time like she does the freestyles or she picks one of those records when she's rapping, it always booms, like booms. So how does she differentiate the two? Because I know
she said she's down to come back up here.
Oh, listen, when it's time, let's do it again.
We'll do this.
Right.
Everyday Struggle Awards.
Everyday Struggle Awards. All right, guys, it feels like it's been only a few days since we talked about some random list that pissed off everyone on the internet. So here we go. A few days ago, a top 50 Atlanta rappers list surfaced. Still don't know who put this one up. Can't get to the bottom of it, but of course it upset some people. So the rankings currently, let's see the top 5. Andre 3000 at number 1, followed by T.I., CeeLo, Luda, Killer Mike. Am I missing one person? Gucci Mane was at number 13 on this list. He was not feeling that. To quote him, what the fuck? If we're doing a real top 50 Atlanta rappers list, does Gucci have reason to be pissed off here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I seen before this, there was another Atlanta list. And I'm not from Atlanta, like, you know what I mean? But I've listened to enough motherfucking Atlanta music to have an opinion. And I can't respect no Atlanta list that ain't got Jeezy or Gucci top 10. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, just in terms of their influence and just musically. Like, now, like CeeLo, I understand why CeeLo's in there too, because CeeLo, he did everything from Goody Mob to all the Dungeon Family stuff to Gnarls Barkley. Like, he's done a lot, but like, we talking about Atlanta rappers, and Gucci ain't in top 10. That's kind of wild. Like, it's really wild.
Yeah, I do believe. Like, first of all, I do have to say, you gotta. You know who's making these lists? Sad enough, it's like a lot of kids. It's kids making these lists. Like, I seen 20 lists pop up last night, and it's from whatever region, and it's made by kids who have a lot of time. You know, I'm glad. You know, we're gonna get to like T.I. made his own list, but yo, it's like. I always understand, this is not like, oh, this was voted on. It's like somebody who, that's their interpretation of Atlanta hip-hop. Right. I don't think it's the worst list in the world. Yeah. Now, do I have critiques? Yes. Of course, you see Gucci, like, Gucci's probably looking like, man, I inspire a lot of these niggas. Like, I'm like, oh, OG to a lot of these niggas. Like, how am I ranked here? Yeah. You know, you have Tip at 2. I didn't think it was the worst list, but, I mean, the criteria when you put out any list has to be established. Are we judging?
Yeah, there's no criteria.
Nah, it gotta be a criteria.
I'm just saying, like, for these lists, how they come out, I think we create the criteria as we discuss them, but there is no real criteria to make the list.
Good point. But as we're discussing it, right, we have to kind of envision, like, what the fuck is a criteria? Is a criteria like, yo, who's been the most successful, most influential, biggest impact, or the person or the people who could rap the best? When you see Andre 3000 at number 1.
I don't dispute that. I keep him number 1.
But just thinking about criteria-wise, the criteria when you have Dre at 1 tells me we're going off talent, just straight skills.
Good point, absolutely.
And when we're going off of that, like, I think once we got...
wait a second, because Andre 3000 is not only skill, he's influence, and he sells. Like, Outkast is one of the biggest selling...
But people are then going to make the argument that he never had a solo career.
Nah, because I've seen other Atlanta lists, and they didn't list Outkast because they were talking about individual artists.
Individual.
Dre accomplished all those accolades in terms of sales and stuff like that, being a part of Outkast.
Yeah, but
if you're going to be listed alone, and listen, I don't know about all you other niggas. I forgot who was disrespecting Big Boy the other day, but I went to see where Big Boy was at.
Big Boy's no pushover. He's no pushover. Big Boy's no pushover, but let's not act like Andre 3000 is not the fucking engine of the vehicle, which is Outkast. Now, I'm not, like, Big Boy is, I don't have nothing negative to say about Big Boy. One of the greatest artists to come out of Atlanta. And just Outkast, period. They put Atlanta on the scene in terms of rapping. Because they didn't come out with no, I mean, Atlanta always had.
My bad.
This list Let me pull this up. 50
I was about to say Atlanta always had like high energy music, but I'm talking about like they established themselves. Andre and Big Boy established Atlanta on some rapping shit.
So you're saying then that doesn't mean the criteria if you're going on this is based strictly on.
No, I'm just saying with Andre 3000 because you said if you're saying Andre 3000, you're going strictly based off skills.
And then you're about to say then who else on the list in the top 5 would challenge that?
If we look at skill and influence, didn't Yes Jules just say, I mean, everybody got on her for it, but her saying Earth Gang is 2 Andre 3000s. We talking 20. Wait a second. I'm talking about influence. Them niggas not dressing like that if it's not no Andre 3000. And I'm not speaking specifically of her.
I'm glad you just pulled this up. All right, so real quickly. Andre 3000, number 1. T.I. number 2. CeeLo, Luda, Killer Mike number 5. Shy the Prince, number 6, 2 Chainz, Big Boy, JID, B.O.B. I think, like, it's hard to even create a criteria because even if I conventionally ask you, like, yo, Wayno, what's your top 5 overall, right? You're not going to be like, hey, my top 5 is Biggie, Jay-Z, Nas, then Sir. You feel me? And respect, be respectful about that. Like, when I even see JID on this list, I think he's fairly new, and a lot have to prove. Like, how could he be number 9?
Well,
you know what I mean?
Let's just go on record. I ain't gonna lie. I don't feel comfortable talking about an Atlanta list without an Atlanta person present.
I agree.
Like, I got to say that because I can't imagine. Even for everything I feel about Atlanta, I've never lived in Atlanta. I don't.
That's fine. You guys have enough credibility. I vest the powers in you to continue this debate. With all of that said,
So all right, what was we going on?
All right, so he's saying.
Going on the list.
All right, yeah.
And
So
also, go ahead.
Much love to Sci-Hi, right?
I'm not putting Sci-Hi.
But he's
top
at number
10. I'm not,
6.
and I think he's very, very dope
in terms
rapper.
of skill or maybe just overall?
Skill, but when I look at lists, I look at overall. I look at that's all I look at is
Skill,
overall.
I'm putting him top 10.
It's skill, absolutely, but I'm looking at overall. Like overall, in order to be the best at anything, it can't just be one good thing that you do. It has to be everything that you do, and not to take nothing from him. But I'm like, of course, I think Ludacris definitely.
And
top
B.O.B.
5.
also, who I love, is at number 10.
See, that's what I'm saying.
It just
Now,
doesn't. Yeah, there's no
I'm
criteria
not putting
here.
B.O.B. and no, I'm not putting B.O.B. over Offset.
Zero
I'm not
disrespect.
putting B.O.B.
Young
over
Thug is at
21
16.
Savage.
Future is at 15.
I'm not putting B.O.B. over Waka Flocka.
Who's at number 26
Well,
and
we're gonna
also
get
responded
Waka
to this.
in a second because he definitely responded. I think he
Yeah.
made some phenomenal points. Okay, so B.O.B. and
Future?
B.O.B. and Offset. I think as ridiculous as it might sound, it's a good discussion to have to say what your list prioritizes or is based on. If you ask me about Offset, he raps better than B.O.B.
Right.
But B.O.B. has had more success, especially individually, he's not a part of a group, than Offset. Where do you, because I feel like this list is, taking into a lot of things into account. That's the only reason why I can see B.O.B. I think his impact and its success.
Okay.
Yeah, but B.O.B.'s...
Just looking at this list,
You think the earth is
B.O.B.
flat,
is...
you're
No,
right.
I'm
nigga,
just
fuck
saying
that.
comparing his impact to Offset's impact. As much as I love B.O.B., you can't.
You can't. His
comparable.
impact, your Offset impact, just Amigos impact, they cemented forever. Forever. You
I agree.
Forever.
I agree.
But
My nigga, look, B.O.B. is over Future.
Okay.
Future.
All right, whoa.
Fucking Future, my nigga.
Let's break it up. Let's
Okay.
break it up. First of all, I would say, I do think this is why, and that's why I started off with 3 Stacks, is that when you're known to be a part of a group and you're listed on a list individually,
right.
I can't then go think about what the group did to validate why you're on the list.
To get a Waka Flocka, Pastor Troy, without Pastor Troy, I don't feel like that, how Waka Flocka saying, I'm responsible for sounds and all that. Pastor Troy, throwing bows, all of that shit. I don't know. I spent time in Atlanta.
You just tried to say you weren't qualified to
No,
have this
because my cousins, I got family in Atlanta. I've been going down there since 1999. I used to go to the club and shit. Pastor Troy was the biggest fucking thing never, really heard of. Pastor Troy didn't get his flowers. He didn't.
If we talking impact, I got a top 5 off the top of my head.
For Atlanta.
Yeah, for Atlanta. We're talking, if this is impact, right? Again, I'm gonna just try to say in no order, but let's go Outkast. I know they're a group, but I gotta lump them together. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Then I gotta have Gucci. Gucci gotta be in there. I have to have Waka. Waka definitely gotta be in there. And I probably also
Top 5?
in terms of influence.
Okay, no, you
Atlanta,
said Gucci.
Yeah,
Gucci.
I'm only talking about influence.
Influence, okay.
They have paved the way or set the mark for a lot of artists to come. So Waka, Gucci, I got to throw Jeezy in there. And I'm not gonna lie, I probably have Tip that round out number 5.
Okay.
And that's and
love
there's so
all of them,
many
so I can't even,
there's so many other artists, you have Luda, who's really rapping with Luda? Luda's really nice, man.
Yes, but he been stopped rapping.
No, I get it,
Right.
but this is why these lists are so complicated, because we're not just yo, this is a in the last couple of years. It's like of all time, and you're like, oh fuck.
See, you know what the biggest problem with these lists are?
That we debate them.
Well, not that. Before the list came out in the magazine, where like everybody's opinion couldn't be seen and heard. Now, like with social media, so it feels like there is no right list. I don't think there's ever gonna be a correct list for anything.
That's a good thing.
Huh?
I'm gonna tell you why I think that's a good thing. Because we've seen it recently, even in basketball. And a lot of times, you know, a top 50 conversation is it's a popular conversation in basketball. Right. We've seen the top 50 lists recently where, like, you know, they didn't even put AI on the list, and he was commenting on how people were ranking and stuff like that. But when I look at a top 50 list when it comes to hip hop, the reason why I like that we have these debates or we see lists like this is because we're now in a space for hip hop where there's generation gaps and where people who identify with a certain era don't identify. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm like, yo, I'm looking through it, then I'm like, wait, Offset and JID, like, you see, like, it's so many different, and not only generations, like, styles as well. Yeah. You feel me? It's not just, okay, the early 2000s is get like the top 5 of those. Like, when you think about even overall hip hop, you'd be like, what's your top 5? A lot of people name like their top 4 at least.
Wait, I'm sorry, keep going. Can you bring up the list again? Yeah. I just want to see if somebody is in there that I love from Atlanta.
The top 4 of hip hop that a lot of people usually just embrace, which is like usually Pac, Big, Jay, and Nas, right? Like, those dudes are really prevalent, or at least starting their run in the 90s. You know, when it comes to a lot of these other lists, it's like, okay, he might have been really doing his thing in the 2000s. And for some other people, doing his thing like 2013 post. Some other people like a little bit earlier. So like it's hard to judge. And I was really, you know, I was listening to KD yesterday. Like, I think he did a great interview yesterday, and he was talking about it's so hard to judge people cross generation.
It is.
Like, how do you compare Outkast really to even Amigos or even other people who are doing it now?
Yeah, that's a really tough thing to do. That's another reason why I don't like lists. I feel like they divide so many things, like, because people start really saying how they feel, and you be like, oh shit, like, you know what I mean? It brings up like uncomfortable conversation for certain people that they don't usually have. You know what I mean? When they let their feelings on music be heard, and especially with artists, because artists, everybody looks at artists like, or media personalities, like you can't have an opinion about anything. Right. And it kind of causes a divide, because it's like, oh, I didn't know he felt like that about me.
I'm just amazed that it causes a divide with a list that clearly you didn't put enough thought into. Yeah. Right? There are different like degrees of lists, like you're saying. The criteria is also going to be like always going to be difficult, but it feels like there's no criteria here. Yeah. It's just purely opinion based.
Because I feel like you got to have, in order to make any list, you have to have accomplishments. While there are a lot of dope young, and I'm looking at the young dudes, I'm looking at a lot of these young dudes, they dope, but what the fuck have they accomplished? Yeah. Like, what have they accomplished? If we judging on terms of, even in Atlanta, with a T.I. or a Outkast or Luda or Killer Mike or like all of these people, now like, I think JID is gonna be, I think he's gonna have a long career. I think he's gonna be here, but he hasn't won a Video Music Award or a Grammy, or, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, to group it into a list of all top 50 of.
Yo, shout out to Russ though, he made the list.
Of course,
number 23
Russ made the list.
Above Gunna and Lil Baby.
Well,
Russ made
I
the
thought
list.
Russ was born in Jersey, but clearly he's Atlanta's own at this point.
Hey, listen.
I mean, I was looking at this list, and I was looking at, you know, I think Gucci's outrage was like, you know, T.I. be number 2. T.I., I believe, you know, I got some joints, so I believe T.I. is rapping with some of the best of them. Like, I believe Paper Trail, like, he upped his rapping ability. Like, T.I.'s...
Used to call him Jay-Z of the South. T.I. could definitely...
Okay. And with that thinking, I'm like, okay, even that, I don't know if he's number 2, though, from Atlanta. So when I look at that...
Why not?
Just off rapping ability?
Off of rapping, T.I. not number 2?
I'm talking about rapping.
Rapping.
If Andre
rapping. Rapping.
I know.
Rapping.
Rap.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
If Andre is number 1, I don't know if T.I. is number 2.
Who number 2?
Mind you, he just had him in his top 5 unranked.
No.
Who's number 2? T.I.'s not number 2 best rapper from Atlanta?
I think we could have a discussion about
Who though? You gotta give me at least 2 people you can say.
I mean, how do you view T.I. rapping versus even Luda? Like
T.I. They went at it, bro. T.I.'s better.
Okay. And that's like a beef, bro.
Nah. Yo, T.I. I'm gonna tell you how. T.I. got better albums. T.I. got better albums than Ludacris. And Ludacris got really good albums, but T.I. has better albums than Ludacris.
But I think you're getting precisely into my point. It's not just rapping ability. You start to look at some other things.
Nigga, I'm asking you who is number 2. You said T.I. not number 2.
No, I'm not saying he's not number 2.
Okay.
I said there's a discussion to be had.
Okay.
And the only reason why I'm bringing that up, because he's number 2, and then, again, the reason why we're talking about this list is because Gucci said, what the fuck is going on, right? Gucci is like number 13.
Right.
Clearly, I don't think that Gucci and T.I. rap on the same level. But then I look at it, I'm like, yo, it's a conversation where T.I. could be between 2 and 4, depending on who you're looking at, just off rapping ability. But then I gotta look at who.
This nigga's crazy.
Can we move on?
No, wait.
This nigga's crazy.
Wait.
Go ahead.
So you're saying T.I. is
Definitely
second
number
best,
2.
just straight
Second best rapper to come from Atlanta, yes. Rapper, my nigga. Now, Gucci, I give Gucci, listen.
We're not
Gucci,
talking about Gucci at that point.
All right, no. We talking about the list, period. We talking about the list, period. But rapping, my nigga, it's 3 other niggas that can rap better than T.I. from Atlanta.
I think there's a discussion we had.
Nah, it's not.
Let me see the list.
It's undisputed.
You
just looked at a list,
saw
bro.
the list. You named
It's undisputed,
your 5
my nigga.
unranked.
There's no, nah, bro, you bugging.
If that was the case, he would be number 2 on every fucking list when it came to like.
Bro, T.I. is in the top best rappers of all time, nigga. He's one of the best rappers.
Hold on. Here's the point I'm trying to make.
Fuck success. You said rapping.
You're stopping the point I'm trying to make.
All right.
The point is that I look at this list because even though just rapping, I think he's in that mix. For him to be cemented at number 2, I think it also takes into account a couple other things. Impact and other things as well.
Trap.
Which,
nigga, the word trap.
Oh my God.
good. You're making my point. But, so that's what I'm saying. How the fuck you put JID in front of Gucci then?
All right,
When we
forget
talking
that.
about
Oh, that's fine, but why are you debating T.I.? Can we please move on?
Yeah, we gotta move on because
enough.
We got to. We have to.
Stop.
We have
Okay.
to. We have to move on.
I'm just trying to say, how can we validate Gucci being that low if we're even considering impact remotely? For number 2,
We're
for
not
T.I. to be number
validating
2, for T.I. to be number 2, if I think about all these things, yeah, he's number 2 with impact and second, third. I'm just not looking at this as just straight rapping. That's just me. So then I say, how the hell are these other niggas who have 0 impact?
That's what we're
higher
saying
than
too.
Gucci?
Let's move on.
Yeah. We have to move on. We have a lot more
I
to
feel
talk
like
about.
we
feel like y'all-
agreed.
we have a
lot
We
to go
agreed.
through.
That's
I feel
some
like y'all-
bullshit.
All
I
right.
think we
Yeah,
agree
I feel
on
like
it. Can we just please do this Andre 3000 question?
Okay.
Because we talked about him so much.
Right.
Because it's just been lingering forever. So hey, Nadeska, Ak, and Wayno, straight to the point. Does Andre 3000 not having a solo album hurt his ranking in all-time lists? I need your opinions.
No.
Okay, Wayno, that was easy.
It don't. Not for me. That nigga's he always been in my top 5.
Okay.
No.
In most top 5s I've seen, it hasn't hurt it. But when it comes to all time, overall, and we're not talking about regional, that's a little bit for me.
Okay.
Because it's hard for me to look at catalog and for me to just judge you on what you've done by yourself. So whether I think the reason why you don't see him, you would never, like, who's having the debate? And you could tell me if I'm wrong or debate if I'm wrong. Are we having a debate of Jay-Z versus 3 Stacks? And you have probably never thought about that debate because one doesn't have catalog, which is solo. I don't think we would ever say that Jay-Z's just miles ahead of 3 Stacks. Like, I think that would be a ridiculous argument.
I mean, 3 Stacks could keep up. But
when you don't have those projects, which, like, a classic album is a championship if we were relating to any sports.
Yeah.
And if you don't have those, it's like.
But see, then everybody views it different ways because when they did their double album where Big Boy did his solo and Andre did his solo, people don't count it. And if you don't get the Love Below, there is no 808s and Heartbreaks. If there's no 808s and Heartbreaks, there's not a whole era of niggas that come behind that. So I feel like Andre 3000 is another one who don't get the credit that he deserves because people look at him as just being in a group. Same way how Prodigy with Mobb Deep. Prodigy is one of the best lyricists, but they always hold him just to being next to Havoc. And they never separate the two. So for me, it doesn't change how I feel about him as an individual rapper.
So for you, it doesn't change. For you, regional versus like all-time generalists. That's a fair point.
Yeah, nah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
a lot of artists got a lot of catalog. I can't just be like, yeah, championships don't count. But this nigga, if he did that, nah.
Okay, so to wrap up this very long conversation,
I would never
Yo, forever. At least someone credible made this next list, right? So T.I. made his own list on Instagram of the top 50 rappers of all time, not Atlanta, all time. So in his rankings, we have Pac at number 1, followed by Jay, Biggie, Snoop at number 4, Kanye at number 5. Interestingly enough, he ranks himself at number 11, so ahead of Ice Cube, Andre 3000, Lauryn Hill, and a couple more. Gucci's at number 29 on this list. But again, rappers of all time. What do you think about T.I.'s list? Briefly.
T.I.'s list is interesting. For me, I don't know if I could ever make a top 50 list because my 5, I always keep the same 4 and then my 5th always changes, depending if a nigga's bugging that year or not. It always changes. But I think it was a solid list because he touched on a lot of things. There's a lot of debates in there too. I heard him talking about the Little Kim and Nicki debate. And a lot of dudes was like, man, if not for Little Kim, then we don't get a Nicki. You know what I mean? But it's like Nicki might have surpassed her success-wise. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of different conversations to have in there. But I enjoyed this list as well.
That exact conversation I saw as well, and I chalked it up to being impact. This list was, if we had to see what was prioritized here, it was impact more than rapping ability. You get, I didn't even see that when I first saw this, but Kanye number 5. But I always love lists that's not the normal 4, Pac,
Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas.
Yeah. I believe Nas was actually around 9 or something like that on this list. I thought it was a worthy list, but I see people still criticize. Through the discussion, I think most of these lists have to come with somewhat of a discussion. Because you'll see exactly the train of thought, the mindset, what you're prioritizing. And after I kind of see what he's prioritized, I think it's a pretty good list.
Okay.
I have no problems with this list.
All right, thank you, Tip.
Thank you.
So Gucci was not the only one who reacted, of course, to that Atlanta rappers list. Waka had some feelings about it. So he did say that he really doesn't care technically where they rank him on the list, and also mentioned that he happens to be from Jamaica, Queens anyway. But then he added this. So our first big facts or BS today is from Waka Flocka.
But I will say this, nigga, the sound of hip-hop today is because of Waka Flocka. These beats is because of me, Southside, and Lex Luger. Hey, look, so I can complain and be on the list, but I don't give a fuck about no list.
So are we claiming Waka now, again?
Yo, one thing you can't dispute is Waka being from Queens. You know what I mean? His uncle is Bimmy, you know what I mean? One of the most legendary street dudes from Queens. His mom, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Waka, I look at that shit kind of like my son, right? If we moved out of Harlem, you'll always be my kids. You'll always be Harlem kids. Y'all grew up there, you know what I mean? But wherever y'all go next, y'all might claim that, but you'll always be from there. He moved around I think 9, 11 years old.
Yeah, it's a good amount of time that he spent here. All right, Waka, we claim you too. But thoughts on this statement though?
I'm not disputing that only because Flockavelli is one of the hardest albums of this decade. It's one of the hardest albums of this decade, and I think it does create a era of music where you get Flockavelli. After that, you get Chief Keefs and all these different people who use these hard drums. 808 Mafia is birthed out of Flockavelli. Lex Luger's Run, which I still wish he was doing music the way he was before, but Lex Luger's Run comes from that. So I will give him credit for a lot of stuff, but I'm not going to give him overall hip-hop. I won't give him overall hip-hop, but absolutely, his project created an era of music, I mean, for young dudes.
Sure.
It's about criteria again. If I had to make a top 10 overall impactful or more than impactful influential list in hip-hop, Waka is top 10 all time. Because you can't mention anybody else that comes from that family tree before Waka. You can't mention a Keef, a Uzi, a Thug. Even though Thug is from Wayne as well. But he's influenced mad niggas.
Absolutely.
And I can understand when these lists come out, and that was my whole point with Gucci. Like, for people like that, maybe you're not lyrically inclined or you're not whatever, but like when you start to change culture and you start to influence those who come after you, like you start looking at those lists a little crazy when you see a nigga who's wet behind the ear, haven't done shit, who's using the shit you've created, and ain't even really like progressing it to the point that it's gonna influence somebody else. It's like, how can I not be on the list? So I think he had a great point with that. Of course, you know, he made a good point too. He ain't gonna trip over it because he's not.
Yeah, I mean, what's crazy is watching.
I consider him Atlanta.
Waka's one of those people that you could kind of look at his whole career. Like, you know how you look at Meek's career, you could go back and see when YouTube videos is uploaded. You could go back and see Gucci's, like, videos when he was doing everything with Jordan Tower Films, and Waka's in the background. Like, he's not even an artist. He's just standing in the background of every shot. To see his impact that he's had, I do give him tons of credit for that. Because that's what I was saying about Pastor Troy. Like, Pastor Troy didn't get that. You know what I mean? And without Pastor Troy, you don't get a Waka, you know?
It's true.
Right.
So big facts or BS?
Oh, this is big facts or BS? Big facts.
Big facts.
Big facts.
Great. Roger wanted us to button that one up nicely. Thank you, Roger. Shout out to Waka. I'm with 21 Savage on his exactly. Thank you. That's how I feel about that Atlanta rappers list. To sum that up very nicely. All right, yo, moving on.
But I was just gonna say, Atlanta dudes you don't see Atlanta dudes debate much.
Yeah.
Like, so it's just like, I mean, they don't. I know 21 is just like off it.
He read the shit and he's like, fuck this.
But I think it's a great conversation. I think it's great for conversation because then you get to see how many people from other places actually care about Atlanta because I give a fuck about Atlanta hip hop. Like, for real.
I just worry that we're going to take some of these like really bad lists too seriously. Like we need to sort of pick and choose a little bit better.
Right.
Like the one Richard Kid was circulating, huh?
Yeah, I was about to say, y'all seen that New York list, man?
Nah, that's a fucking joke. I had to delete that one from the topics
cool
today.
on that one.
You got to draw the line
like that
somewhere.
list?
Nah.
What do you like about that
Super
list?
inaccurate.
I'm just saying, they had a couple people on it. I'm just saying, let's keep it going.
Let's
Top
keep it
5
going.
was absurd. Anyway, so Drake's dad, Dennis Graham, was on a recent episode of Nick Cannon's morning show. So Nick Cannon asked him about their once strained relationship. If you ever listen to Drake, you've heard him rap about his dad. So here's what his father had to say.
I had a conversation with Drake about that. I have always been with Drake. I talk to him, if not every day, every other day.
Wow.
And we really got into a deep conversation about that. I said, Drake, why are you saying all of this different stuff about me, man? Like, this is not cool. And he goes, Dad, it sells records. I said, okay, well, cool.
I wish my dad was that.
Yo, I think Dennis forgot who's paying for that OVO fit. So Drake addressed this on Instagram. He said, woke up today so hurt. My father will say anything to anyone that's willing to listen to him. It's sad when family gets like this, but what can we really do? That's the people we're stuck with. Every bar I ever spit was the truth, and the truth is hard for some people to accept.
Akademiks.
I would like to hear your
Academic. You want to hear my point?
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this, right? From,
Tread lightly.
No, tread lightly. Fuck out of here, nigga. Scared to know what these niggas out here. What I say is, like, from having dealings with your dad and shit, your parents remember shit different ways than you remember it.
Sure they do. They make shit up all the time.
Yo, your parents remember
Holy
shit
revisionist history.
way different than you remember it. This was kind of shocking to me.
Yeah.
Like, this was really, really shocking to me because, I mean, Drake seems so tight-knit on everything. It seems like everything is so private. And not in a bad way. I think he just, like, protects himself because it can be used against you, you know? I was just confused. You know what I mean? I didn't really know what to think about it because I don't think that this, honestly, this is not no laughing matter to me. You know what I mean? It's not no laughing matter to me because even for myself, I be feeling like I got dad issues, like, for real, that I never talked to my dad about. And as I became a man, I'm like, man, I don't even want to talk about it. Like, we good now. I don't want to talk about it. But I still got issues with my pops for certain shit. So if that might be the case for Drake, I feel him. But this came out of nowhere. Like,
yeah, we'll wait for the deep read, but it's like you're saying, like, if everything Drake has said is true, and they've gone through all the pains to make up and mend this relationship, something that some of us are not big enough to do. I don't give a fuck about, like, repairing some relationships. For him to do this This shit is pretty whack. But anyway, what's your deep read?
Man, Drake's the realist. That's number one. Half these rappers, they too pussy to really say some real shit about how they really feel. And by the way, if you listen to Drake's catalog, he's acknowledged that his music is therapeutic in the way of he'll put something out without really even coming to a medium with the opposing party. Like, he's done it with his mom. You know, like his view of how the separation and how she was dealing with, you know, she was sick for a while and the pressures that she was feeling and the pressure he was feeling was much different and like how he's now, like he wants her to enjoy life and, you know, she's not that, but he wants her to get there. Like he had openly admitted in music. And I think this is why Drake is great. I'm with you. How a parent sees something versus how a child went through it and sees it when they grow up, completely different. If anybody in here say they haven't had that conversation, you're probably either too pussy or you just don't have that conversation or that tight-knit with your family. I have that conversation a lot with my mom. Like, my brothers have that conversation with my mom. And usually when you see that conversation play out, it's two people who see from a different spectrum. And what Drake's father is saying doesn't have to not be true, doesn't have to be false if what Drake is saying is true.
Yeah.
You know, like he's basically saying, wait, how could this be true when I was calling you every day? Drake's a kid. Like as a kid, I don't know if anybody, you know, fortunately for your kids, they're growing up in a home where the mom and the dad is there. But for anybody who grew up in a broken home where like your dad was either estranged or whatever, you realize like you get certain resentments because certain moments you realize certain people weren't around and those phone calls are cool. Okay?
It's a totally different thing.
Even if you were sending money, that's cool. Yeah. But it does like it gets built up. Yeah. And that's definitely to be accounted for. So when I see this, I'm like, the only thing I look at this and
the disparity is one thing, right? In stories, we all go through that. But for him to come out and say, my son told me he was doing it for sales, I would never speak to him again.
No. Well, I do believe that's the easy way of answering this. By the way, this is the third time he's been asked this question. Like, I was gonna hit Drake yesterday. I'm like, yo, why are you just? I didn't see his comments.
What were his previous responses?
No, I'm talking about Dennis. So that's Drake's father. He did 2 podcasts before. Said the same thing. Drake never said anything. Yeah. 2-3 months ago. So yesterday I was like, why is Drake responding to something? You woke up and saw a 3-month-old news. So he's been said this. Yeah. Right? But what happened is it started circulating virally. That's why I think he responded. But in relation to how overall it's seen, I look at this and I'm like, I believe his father is finally feeling the pressure of people saying, damn, it's cool. Like by the way, his father's very open and vocal and he's out there too. Yeah. Yo, he's right. So he's so like public facing compared to his mom that eventually the questions of why does Drake feel that way about his upbringing and what were you doing? It's coming to a helm.
Do you feel like it's been more in his recent music than like when we first got introduced to Drake in earlier years?
No, it's about the father being more present.
I feel you, but he's been super present for a long time.
He ain't never did podcasts. Well, he's doing the Cannon show. Well, what does he promote? Let's really think about it. You're doing podcasts. Yeah. You're doing, again, I know he's flirting with music. Whatever. Like Drake.
His dad was a music person though. But
then did he drop a single or there was something a few years ago where he was trying to get? I don't.
He's never done interviews like this. And when you do interviews, a lot of the questions about your super famous son is gonna be like, hey, we gotta ask you. Your son basically said he grew up just with his mom. What were you doing? Yeah. Enough of that, especially when you're trying to be more public facing. You start to take offense to it to even divulge a conversation if it happened or however it happened. Yo, he told me he just said that to sell records.
Your parent,
I think
though,
you know what the biggest thing out of all of this is, and in hip hop, in music, like it's always women got daddy issues. Niggas got daddy issues.
Culturally, we do. It's all of us.
A lot, like a whole lot. And I think like it goes initially to how you remember it. Like you said, like it's one thing for your dad to buy you shit. Like my dad used to buy me stuff, but it's like when I want to play basketball, my mom is, like, when I'm learning about girls, my mom is teaching me that shit. Like, my dad, I'm not saying my dad never taught me nothing, but he didn't live with me. So, and I had this one moment when I got older and I cursed my dad out crazy, but it was all a built up anger from me never saying nothing to him. But I was a man, I felt like I could talk to him however. And I think, like, I'm not saying it's the same thing, but I think, like, now that, you know, Drake is rich and doing good, he probably just like, all right, we cool now, you know what I mean? But he's still going to speak his piece on how he felt as a kid.
Yeah.
And I think that his dad he doesn't remember it that way.
I don't know.
He just might not remember
I think
it
you
that
guys
way.
are all making good points. Obviously, this is between Drake and his dad. I think something like this is whack. To try to hurt your son's credibility when you're sitting there dripping in OVO, I don't think it's, like, excusable.
Hey, again, and I know maybe we just look at these two people in just different lights or whatever, but, like, look at Blueface's mom and his sister and Drake's dad. You know, like, when family is then thrusted into the public, no one likes to be looked at as a bad guy. Nobody.
Thrust is a very strong word. Drake has been famous for a long time, and, like, we've known his dad for a minute.
Yo,
Thrust
he's
makes it
never
sound like
talked like
2019 he just broke through.
If you could point me any interview of Dennis Graham talking openly about his son and his son's music before a year and a half ago, I'll give you $1,000.
Okay, so there's no
He has
self-awareness,
none.
right? By the third time they
serious.
asked him the question, it's cool to say the same thing.
No,
None of
he's
us here
not.
need $1,000.
No. Well, it's not, yeah, I'm just saying that he's never. This is the first time he's actually being probed on shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's cool. Like, everybody just look at him like, yo, we here with Dennis Graham. He's the father of, like, the hottest rapper. That's all good and well. But now when you're trying to work on your public, you know, craft or whatever you're doing.
Which you
like,
only have because of your famous son.
I'm not agreeing that he should have said it.
Okay,
but
this is just his...
but I know why he said it.
All right, fair
because
enough.
he probably felt like, this is the third or fourth time he's asked. Probably feel like you're not getting attacked. How do you then basically be like, yo, nah, chill? It's like, nah, yo, I've talked to my son about that. He just be saying that for the records. Again, he's a little bit older. He don't know what that means, and that's a bigger headline than you actually saying something else.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe
pretty sure he knows that.
Drake should get him some media training then once they sort this one out.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. But hey, hopefully they figure it out. Maybe he's not, you know, as petty as I am. All right, let us wrap up. Real quick, the BET Hip Hop Awards aired last night. J. Cole cleaned up, big winner. So he took home a few awards, including Lyricist of the Year, Best Featured Verse, and Impact Track. Cardi took home 2 awards for Best Hip Hop Style, Hip Hop Video, and then Travis got a few. Finally got an Album of the Year award. So congratulations to them. And JT is home. From the City Girl. She made it back. She announced it. She dropped a new song called First Day Out. Now, she was locked up for, over a year for credit card fraud charges. So it's good that she's home.
I want to say shout out to Rhapsody because she had a very incredible performance. She had everybody in there rocking.
You watched the whole thing?
Nah, I caught like the end of it when I got home late last night. But it was, I saw her performance. It was really dope. Yeah.
I'm interested to see how JT being released and her being now in the fold and active will change the trajectory of the City Girls.
But the other City Girl about to go on maternity leave. She about to have a baby.
That's very cute. But this is the Beyonce. Let's just be honest, right? So, like...
Now, momhood is real hot right now. Cardi made the shit look good. It'll be all right.
No. Love it and everything, but this is the Beyonce of the group. Like, you feel me? It's like if... I don't want to throw shade at no other groups, but I'm just saying, you know what Beyonce the group means. Like, every song that y'all know, the lines that y'all are rapping, if it's about the City Girls, y'all rapping JT's part.
Right.
So she's back home. Let's see how she kind of impacts the musical atmosphere a little bit. So I'm excited.
Okay.
That's
Happy
it.
for JT. That's it. That's our show for today. Today is Wednesday, right?
Yep.
Is it? Yeah. We'll be back here tomorrow, same time, on Everyday Struggle. Have a nice day. What was that?
That's my P shot.